Hey guys, Harrison101 back at it once again for a brand new video for you. Welcome to episode 20 of the Online Racer Formula 1 2012 online gameplay featuring topics relating to real life Formula 1 and in this case, some other stuff. First of all, I want to say this is going to be the last episode of the Online Racer for this series. The series will be taking a small hiatus after this episode, obviously to factor in for F1 2013 content coming possibly as early as tomorrow. I'm not 100% sure whether I'm going to get my copy tomorrow from Shop2Net. Best place, by the way, to pre-order games. Without a doubt, you're almost guaranteed to get it before the actual release comes out. But, yeah, so this is probably going to be my final F1 2012 video, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. But I wanted to talk about Nico Hulkenberg for a bit, and the stories revolving around him at the moment. The guy's in a real tough spot right now. The guy's been in a tough spot for most of his Formula 1 career, to be honest. He's something I want to talk about a lot in this episode. Now, I'm not going to lie. I personally didn't see a lot of the hype with Nico Hulkenberg to begin with. Like, they were hyping up as this big German superstar. And me being the ignorant, slightly refreshed Formula 1 fan I was after I took a break from the sport in 2008 and 2009 because I was getting busier with my GCSEs and I was studying a lot, and I took time away from the sport to focus on more important things in life. And like Hulkenberg came along in 2010, just when I came back, and I was like, why is this kid so good? Like, why are people hyping this guy up to be so good? And then I realized I kind of recognized his face from somewhere, and I couldn't remember where. And then I realized I'd seen him from his A1 Grand Prix days. You may remember A1 Grand Prix is the World Cup of Motorsport, which Sky Sports broadcasted a lot on their channel before they started going all in for Formula 1. They had the rights to broadcast A1 Grand Prix, and Nico Hulkenberg was the dominant champion for Germany during that series. I was a big fan of A1 Grand Prix. I wish it didn't die out. More jobs for more drivers is always a good thing. But yeah, but then his F1 career never really took off. I mean, he had like the one pole position around a damp Brazil track, which everybody hyped him up over. Finished 8th. Guy was a test driver for a year as well. So until this season, I thought he was the most overrated guy in the field. Why do people keep rating on Hulkenberg so highly when, his resume says he's not done particularly well in his F1 career so far? Then I realized I was being an ignorant clot, and then Monza happened. And Monza was without doubt the best drive of Nico Hulkenberg's career. Put this into perspective for a minute here. Nico Hulkenberg qualified in 3rd and finished 5th in the 8th best car in the paddock. On paper, there are 14 cars that have a better chance of finishing in the points than he does. Only Williams, Caterham and Mauritia have been worse than Sauber this year. I've mentioned it before in previous videos. Sauber's C32 car is nowhere near as good as their C31. Their C32 car just doesn't have the tactical X factor that its C31 counterpart had, where guys like Sergio Perez could run one less pit stop around a lot of tracks. They had better tyre wear, and just overall had much better pace. They had 4 podiums last year and a front row start last year. That's Sauber team. This year, I think less than 10 points. I think it's less than 20 points they've had as a team. And Hulkenberg right now has been knocking on the door of a top team for some time. Now, I mentioned this during one of my grid videos, that Nico Hulkenberg was going to be the replacement for Felipe Massa. I said this during one of my grid episodes, and I'm not sure how many people actually saw it, but I'll say it again here. The story goes that Luca de Montezemolo had Hulkenberg as a replacement. They were in talks for a couple of months, and they had a contract drawn up and ready to go. Hulkenberg had signed it. All it needed was Luca to approve the deal, and it would have gone through, and Hulkenberg would have been Felipe Massa's replacement. However, this was also around the same time the Kimi Raikkonen rumours were swirling around. The Lotus having cash flow problems. and they were unable to pay Kimi Raikkonen on time. So Raikkonen was flying around. It was in talks with Red Bull Racing. Those stalled. It was this is all around the Hungarian Grand Prix, by the way. So by the time they got to Spa, it was announced that Raikkonen wouldn't be joining Red Bull. The Ferrari rumours had started to peak up, and everybody was seemingly adamant that Daniel Ricciardo was going to be the replacement, which obviously turned out to be true. You know, when F1 guys make rumours, they're actually much more accurate than in other sports, to be honest. But yeah, Hulkenberg got the shaft, because all of a sudden Luca's eyes widened when he saw that Kimi Raikkonen was suddenly available. And let's be honest, if you're a team boss, if you get to choose between Kimi Raikkonen and Nico Hulkenberg, 90% of you are going to pick Kimi Raikkonen. He's an elite driver, former world champion, one of the best in the planet. Hulkenberg is the guy with potential. Big potential. I mean, all the signs point to Hulkenberg in a decent car being able to win races. Thinking about it on paper, the guy's won in A1 Grand Prix. He's a world champion in GP2. I think there's other. I think Formula 3. I think he was a world champion there as well. When it comes to credentials outside of Formula 1, Hulkenberg's is some of the strongest. It really is. It's a darn shame, to be honest, because it looks ever likely that Sauber's not going to keep him. Sirotkin is going to be brought in as the sponsor guy, obviously. You know, Sauber getting the deal with the Russians, and they're going to put him in the seat for, you know, sponsor purposes and whatnot. So he's going to be the guy, and I don't think they're going to get rid of Gutierrez after one season. The guy has shown improvement over the year. He's qualifying better. And not to mention, the guy's sponsored by Telmex. That's a massive oil sponsor over in his homeland of Mexico. That's a lot of money, and Sauber right now need to survive. Their first aim isn't about performance. Their first aim is not to go bankrupt, quite frankly, like any business. So Hulkenberg more than likely will be let go. This is where he's got a problem. A lot of teams have already got their driver lineup set in stone for next year. He's not going to get a seat with a better team unless Lotus bring in Hulkenberg. And quite frankly, that's going to be unlikely, because Felipe Massa is out there too, and Massa's got a budget. Massa can help a team out financially, and Lotus have got cash flow problems. I'm hearing that Hulkenberg hasn't got that same privilege. So they're more likely going to go with Felipe Massa, who is more experienced, has achieved more on merit, and is financially more secure than Nico Hulkenberg is. It just makes sense to bring Felipe Massa in, you know, as a team leader, and as a guy who's hungry, who's, you know, clearly hungry for success after Ferrari unceremoniously dumped him for Kimi Raikkonen, a guy who Luca paid to get rid of no less than 4 years ago. So, if Hulkenberg doesn't get the Lotus seat, does Force India keep both of their drivers for next year? Paul di Resta and Adrian Sutil? I think Sittel's been pretty unspectacular this season. And, you know, they could easily bring back Hulkenberg, a guy who knows the team well, has experience with the team, and, you know, has proven success with Force India. So, that's a possibility. But why would Force India get rid of Sutil di Resta to get rid of them and then bring in Hulkenberg? I mean, it's a thing that, you know, VJ Sig might just go, well, it's hassle that doesn't really need to be there. I have my two drivers, they're both reasonable, let's roll with them. You know, VJ might just think there's not a reason to change, so he might just stick with his two guys. Then what? You look at Williams, and Williams, I don't think they're going to change. Pastor Maldonado still has his money he's going to bring in, and Williams need the money as well. And Williams were looking for any excuse last year to put Bottas in the car ahead of Bruno Senna. And to make all that effort, they're not going to get rid of Bottas after one season, to be honest. So then what? There might not be a seat available for Nico next year. He might be a test driver again. It's happened before. 2011, I believe, 2011, he was a test driver for Force India. Somehow a guy like Nico Hulkenberg, who's as talented as he is, and potentially, you know, not being in that seat next year, that's wrong. I mean, Mark Webber came out today in an interview and said Formula 1 needs to focus on quality, and they need to raise the weight limit as well, because some talented drivers are literally too heavy and too tall to be in Formula 1. You know, Webber apparently says he haven't been able to eat in 5 years, apparently. So, and that's another problem with Nico Hulkenberg. He's too tall. He's one of the, I think he's 6'4", and he's one of the biggest drivers in the field. And you know, the problem with that is that next year the weight limit goes up by 43 kilos. The combination of driver and car weight limit goes up. Now, you may not think that's that big a deal, but the thing is that if most drivers are going to be underweight in a car like that, you know, they're going to be underweight. So what teams will do, they'll add ballast to their cars. And the ballast, they can put the weight where they want to on the car to ensure the best possible weight distribution for the track they're on. So there's a tactical element of having the cars deliberately be underweight, so the ballast can bring it up and they can use it to make the car stronger around certain tracks. With Hulkenberg being as heavy as he is, I'm hearing he's about 85 kilos, he's a very big boy. That's about 13, 14 stone in the imperial measurements, and that will make him one of the heaviest drivers on the field. You lose some of that tactical advantage by having to use less or maybe no ballast at all. So again, Hulkenberg's got some problems, and I really, really hope he makes it into the sport again next year. There just literally might not be a seat available for him, and the odds of that are getting stronger as the season goes on. It's a real shame that a guy that talented misses out, even though he's more than justified him being able to continue on in this sport. But you know, money is like that in Formula 1. It's a business now, and that's really unfortunate. But let me know what you think of the Hulkenberg situation. In the meantime, I just also want to say this is going to be my final F1 2012 video, and I know I've not really done this game justice on this channel. I did a career mode, it didn't last very long, I didn't enjoy the game, and I moved on. And maybe that's hurt my channel a little bit, turning away from what made me get to this position as a YouTuber as it is. And yeah, you know, I've gone on to do other things like MotoGP, Grid, having my own podcast, and you know, things like that. Maybe that has hurt me. But I like to think it's made me a better commentator, and I'm very proud of some of the work I've produced over this series. I think some of the online racer commentaries I've done have been some of my strongest commentary work I've ever done to date. Yeah, people underestimate just how hard it is to talk into a microphone like this, you know, fluently and coherently, and trying to make a decent argument for 12, 15, 20 minutes. It's difficult. And I look back and I listen back, and I'm really proud of some of the work I've been able to put out just for this series, you know, in terms of intelligent commentary, coming up with fair and reasonable debate topics and things like that. I think Around the Corners definitely helped with that as well. But I know I've not done this game justice, and I know some of you Formula 1 fans have turned away from me as a result of that. And to those guys, I apologise, and I'm sorry if I've turned you away at any point due to my work, because I've not done what you guys wanted to see. And you know, I like to think I've done this for a reason. I did this on purpose. I deliberately left F1 content for the most part on purpose, and the reason for that was because I wanted to get better. And I think being able to let's play Grid from a live commentary standpoint, you know, MotoGP as well, being able to talk about other things, making me a more confident speaker, I think will benefit me in the long run. And you're about to find out, because F1 2013 is coming tomorrow. A career mode will be back. It'll be my headlining series. It'll be my bread and butter on this channel, as well as scenario mode and whole heaps of other Formula 1 content. So I'm going back to what made me better. Everything I've done in the last year has been leading up to this. Consider this the season 3 finale of Harrison 101 HD, and what I would call the next chapter. I hope you're excited as I am. Until then, I've been Harrison 101. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys next time. Sayonara.